OK, back to the football, and it's been, sorry to say, Loz, another disappointing week for your beloved Liverpool. I don't know if you know that,
I really enjoyed
but I have got some of the stats in front of me. 3-0 loss at home to Forest on the weekend in the league, followed that up by a 4-1 loss at home
Is that what happened?
to PSV midweek in the Champions League. That did make it 9 losses of the last 12 in all comps, and incredibly, that is the club's worst run of results for 71 years. But let's put a bit of context on it. They are still the reigning Premier League champions. So, with that said, we've given him a bit of a task today, haven't we, Joe?
Yeah, absolutely. This is not easy, Loz. We're going to go through the entire Premier League squad. These players have to have played at least one game so far this season. You're going to tell us whether you think they've had a good season or they have been underperforming, effectively. It's quite simple. Yeah. Let's start with the goalkeeper.
Sure. One of the 2 goalkeepers that have been there this season. Arne Slot said it himself. The best ability is availability, and Mamardashvili is generally available. But I think when he has been available, there have been moments where some Liverpool fans have wondered whether he is of the standard that we need. And it's nothing he's a world-class goalkeeper, but I think when you've had Alisson, it makes it a very difficult act to follow. And the problem would be, there's a few times this season where I've asked myself, if Alisson was in goal, would he have conceded that? And the answer is no, I don't think so.
Okay.
Particularly the Ngumoha goal against Liverpool, where he goes through early and he digs over the keeper, stuff like that. It's tricky. I'm going to say miss so far.
Wow. Okay.
That is also because we've lost a lot of games with him in goal. Fair enough.
Yeah.
Alisson, to be fair to him, he was in goal for a lot of the good games.
Yeah, he was.
And I can't fault him generally. He's conceded a lot of goals since he came back, but I'm still going to put him.
Got the same hair and beard as you there in that.
Do I look?
You're looking like you're walking the Alisson.
I'm not gonna be upset. Most good-looking guys in the Premier League, Alisson's up top. I'm going to put him in hit so far, but that's mainly just because legacy.
Okay.
And also, I can't fault the guy's attitude. I think he's one of the leaders in the team who would help us get through this period. So there he is.
So they're the keepers. Let's move on to the goalkeepers. I believe you've got
backline.
Konate. Now, a lot has been said about Konate this season. What is your take on him?
This is the first player where I think it's worth caveating this whole conversation by saying I think the emotional situation that Liverpool players have got is really difficult. And I think Konate is one of those guys who is on the vibe of the dressing room and really feeds off that. And I think at the moment, Liverpool's overall vibe is not a particularly positive one because of some of the experiences that the guys are having themselves personally, right? And I think that's only a fair thing to say. And I don't want to say that's an excuse for anyone, but we don't know. We can't comment on anything wider than that. Konate's form has really dipped. And I think a lot of Liverpool fans are being quite harsh on him because of probably what he's going through right now. At the same time, if you are the title holders, it's really hard to watch him out there. I think there are a few times where he's kind of been hung out to dry by the tactics we're playing, and he's made very big individual mistakes. And the last week has shown that.
What do you reckon, Alex, of his performances so far?
His defending, was it the second Forest goal, was awful, like truly bad. I mean, yeah, it's hard not to look at the contract situation and wonder how much is playing on his mind. That's really, from an outside perspective, and probably from a sort of game-to-game perspective, you look at certain situations. But I just wonder what he's thinking, basically.
Is it difficult for him as well? Obviously, he last season was absolutely one of the best central defenders in the league. Both the fullbacks have changed outside him. They're definitely playing a different style of football now, aren't they? You know, it's that isn't easy as a centre back. Is it also fullbacks change?
Yeah, it can't have been easy to know that on the last day of the transfer window they wanted Mark Gay and they wanted a guy who is a completely different profile to him. He's really aggressive. He wins the ball in the air and he's a classic centre back. Mark Gay doesn't win the ball so much in the air, but he's great at playing it out. He's great at combining and getting into midfield, and that's ultimately what I think Arne Slot and Richard Hughes want. Playing under that pretense, also knowing that I think you think at some point you might be off or you're not sure what your future is, has been difficult. But I think for that reason, it's why he goes there. Might feel harsh on a young... By the way, we forget he's still quite young.
Yeah.
Difficult.
Virgil.
Leader. Some people questioning his leadership this season is sort of saying they feel that as a captain, he needs to not just come out and say post-game, we need to have some chats. And we've had probably quite a few chats at this point in the season, right? But I do think he's been the most consistent in the back line of all of those players. Having said that, that's a pretty low bar for Liverpool this year. I can't really fault him in terms of what I've seen him do out on the field. There's been obviously the handball in the Champions League wasn't ideal, but I think he's appealing there. It's not exactly like he's trying to handball it. So I'm going to say hit, but I think that's because he's probably one of the only hits in our back line.
Matisse?
I think he started the season well, And I think Konate has been poor throughout, and he was almost cleaning up the mess. And obviously, Kerkez defensively was struggling. Robertson has to come into the team. Frimpong's not really a right back. He always played right wing back. So then Bradley comes into the team. But I actually would put him in miss.
Really?
I would put him in miss because I think the standard that he's set, and I know he's getting on, he's 34, so maybe there's a natural decline and a dip coming. But as captain, some of the things that I've seen in terms of just not busting along to get back, or I just feel like the standard of his defending, even in the Chelsea game, sitting off Caicedo, and I'm seeing far too much that's just not at a level that can put him in hit right now.
All the things that people criticise him for, I'd say broadly are because the midfield in front of him has been a bit of a back and forward mess.
Next up,
Joe Gomez.
Haven't seen much of him, so...
Barely really played. It would be unfair to put him, I think, in miss, because actually when he has played, he's actually been one of our more consistent players.
Okay.
Joe Gomez goes up there. Always got a lot of love for the longest serving Liverpool player in the current squad. Another guy who I think is really sort of saved us a lot this season, despite us not being saved at all, is Andy Robertson. And again, a guy who I think emotionally leads the dressing room. I think if we're going to get out of this tailspin we're in, Andy Robertson's a big part of that as a leader. Again, I'm going to go in hit, but again, it's kind of relative. The one that I think most Liverpool fans would say is probably one of the biggest misses. And, it's difficult to come into a dressing room where there's a lot of pressure. I think that's probably one of the criticisms of Van Dijk is he could do a bit more hand-holding for Kerkez, but he's been culpable for a lot of bad situations and broadly been found out of position, not been found to be balancing on that side. It's probably one of the hardest positions to play in Liverpool's team because you need to judge things so well, but he's misjudged almost everything. And I kind of say that knowing that, if I was him, I wouldn't want to hear that because I go, well, but he is a miss.
Have you been surprised?
Yeah, I kind of wanted to ask a question. One of the theories I've seen about Liverpool's season is that last season, at the end of your season, you were playing against loads of low blocks.
Yeah.
So you went into the window and thought we need basically players to stretch the pitch, but then you haven't been in that, you haven't played those games this season. Is that fair? Why probably Kerkez hasn't been as effective as...
I also think broadly the impact of what Konate is doing is having an impact on the whole back line, and the impact of what Milos Kerkez is doing is having an impact on him. Yeah. So what we're finding is just none of these guys are gelling together at the moment because none of them are doing exactly what their role needs to be. I think if Liverpool had moved towards the new shape that they want, and broadly that, Mark Gay massively helps that, we'd see Milos Kerkez having a better season. Yeah. But that's probably why Konate is having a bit of this issue at the moment.
Back
that he's
three?
having.
That's what I was going to ask.
I think it's a back three. Exactly the player that Slot asked for when he came in, Zubimendi. And what does Zubimendi do? He does a great job of protecting that back two, but essentially making it a back three when they need it. Because Liverpool would be crazy to play a permanent back three that plays like that.
Yeah.
So, unfair on him. I think he will come good in the long run, but it's a very long run.
Conor
Bradley. Hard to know what to say about him because he's still so young in the team, and I think he does need a bit more support. Broadly going forward, I think fantastic. And actually, again, Champions League, again, fantastic. You can't really defend that back line, but I'm going to say hit only because it's Conor Bradley and I think he's grown into the role. I think it's great attacking-wise. Jeremie Frimpong, barely seen him. For that reason, I'm going to have to put him down there. That's harsh. Put it that way. We've not seen enough of him. When he has been on the pitch, I think he's been really good. I forgot he was in the team. I feel bad for him because I think he's stuck around. He's been kind of a real servant to the club, if you want to put it that way. He's always been available. I think he's one of those people who, he's just in the squad. Ryan Gravenberch. You'd be forgiven for saying, oh, he's excellent. If you rated him for last season, he goes up there.
Yeah.
If you rate him for this season, I actually don't think the midfield has any balance. So when he has been in the side, good. I also think there have been games where I've seen him just not been able to manage the balance, and I don't necessarily put that on him. I'm going to have to put him there for now, and I know that seems harsh.
Wow.
I agree.
Last season he was incredible. He was really, really good. He was role defining, I think, in the league that season. Most people, I think, will find it hard.
I think just you're a 6, and you've got to be an enforcer and imposer. For the amount of pressure that Liverpool centre-backs are receiving constantly, he's one of the reasons why, unfortunately. Whether or not that's necessarily the right profile, is he's a destroyer, probably not. Last season, he was on the ball more, you're dominating more, so he gets to step up more, carry the ball, score goals. And he was still tackling and intercepting, but I think there's more pressure on him now to defend more than ever. And I don't think he's really doing enough.
Curtis Jones.
This one's kind of, you'd almost want to put him in between the two. And I know I
There
can't
isn't
do
a
that because
category.
Smithy
No,
won't
no.
allow that.
No, I won't allow it.
But overall,
Get off the fence.
I actually think he's been a real leader when he's come on. There are a few people who will always fault Curtis Jones because he tries to do things a bit too complex. I'm going to put him in the positive side because when I do see him doing stuff, I think it's good.
I loved his interview midweek.
Yeah,
Yeah,
do you
I know,
think from an
it's interesting,
off-field
really frank,
perspective,
really
do
honest.
you think from an off-field perspective he might be useful?
I do, because I think he's one of those guys who wants to lead, his heart's in the right place. And I think at the moment we're kind of assuming a lot of what Liverpool players are saying, thinking and doing out on the field. Jones, for me, really positive.
Only 3 Premier League starts, Curtis Jones, in this season.
That's mainly because he's not the out-and-out 6, and they've got this guy in the team.
Yeah.
This guy is by far... If there's a category... if it was A to E, I'm putting him... He's the only player in A. He's been... of the level where if at the end of the season he came and he went, I'm sort of done with this, guys. We go, fair play to you. You can go to Real Madrid now. He has been absolutely incredible. In person watching him, and I've been to Anfield quite a few times this season, he's next level. And he just, when his shoulders go back and he owns the field, he dominates the whole midfield. I don't think there are many Premier League managers who wouldn't want him.
Can we bring Alex in on this, actually? I was going to ask you, you've spoken very well about, and you cover tactically on your channel, Arsenal's balance this season with Zubimendi and Rice. Obviously, Liverpool have chopped and changed that. Loz has alluded to the fact that the balance in midfield, a lot of people have questioned that. Szoboszlai's one player that's been played in multiple positions. What do you make? What do you think is the biggest issue with the balance of the midfield? What are they doing wrong for you?
It's difficult to say. I think I haven't understood the thinking behind the change in dynamics on your right-hand side. I haven't understood whether you want to flip it and completely reinvent it because Trent's gone on, or sort of supplement it in the same way like last season and sort of replace Trent in a sort of direct thing. It feels like you got sort of caught in between. I think the problem with Szoboszlai is he probably is your best right-back option to come inside, but also you need him in the midfield. You need a team of Szoboszlai's probably. But yeah, specifically the right-hand side, also from a progression perspective, your right-hand side really worries me.
Interesting.
Well, it doesn't worry me, but...
So, if anything, it pleases you. We've currently been in a bit of a halfway house, and I think that's partly because of we've not made the tactical shift to the new system that I think we want to play, and we've also been lacking a few players, such as this guy, at their very best. I'm not saying his legs are gone, because I think that's unfair on a player, but I think he's exhausted by the role he's had to play at Liverpool, and that's always been a bit of a question mark. I came on another Sky Sports show at the start of Arne Slot's tenure and said, in the long run, I'm not sure Mac Allister is Slot's midfielder because he can't do a full 90 of the role he needs him to do, and people ripped me apart. At this point, I think we're seeing his exhaustion and the fact that he can't now do the role that Liverpool need him to do as proof of the fact that he's a great player, but I think we'll see him leave Liverpool pretty soon.
There's also something in the Premier League context here. If you look at the players who are thriving, they are the super athletes like Szoboszlai and Rice and Caicedo and those guys who can do that. I think Mac Allister...
And what does that say about this next guy? Where are you standing on the fence for Florian Wirtz?
So far, I don't think we've seen the best of Florian Wirtz, it's fair to say, and that's sitting on the fence. He's been incredible for Germany whenever he's gone away, and for Liverpool, I don't think he's quite found that role, and I don't think he's had the structure and the support to be able to do that. As soon as that structure's put in place, I think he looks great. And again, a big part of him looking good has been Szoboszlai looking good, and they're a partnership for me. I think they're a pair that he does a lot of the legwork around him, and he does a lot of the running of play.
Matisse, where would you put him?
He's got to go and miss. We know exactly what kind of quality he's meant to bring to this team, and he simply hasn't brought it. Yes, there's been a few nutmegs. There's been a lovely little flick and back heel for a chance created in a game, but Frankfurt away, great. But in terms of, we're talking Premier League impact, and we're talking rubber stamping this Liverpool team, which is not easy to do, is your attack and building around you. He simply isn't the guy that you can build around right now.
But Alex, surely you've got some underlying stats that show that Florian Wirtz is one of the best in the world.
He will come good. It was never worth that fee, and I told you that in the summer, and I should have said
a lot of money.
I don't think you did.
When I interviewed Chiesa, he said Wirtz one of the best players he's ever trained with. So it's
I don't think he's got. I don't think he's got a goal or assist in the Premier League, does he?
No.
He has some good games. He has some good games.
Yeah.
He hasn't been playing games. This guy's been playing a lot of games.
Good segue.
Yeah. Now, Liverpool fans are split on Cody Gakpo because some people feel that he's too repetitive, he's too easy to play, basically. He's very effective. And actually, I think when you see Cody at his best, you see players who have to go towards him. The problem for him is actually, I don't think Mo Salah's gravity has been enough on the other side to give him the space to operate in. So I'm actually going to put him in hit because I think, again, he's one of those people who his heart's in the right place and he's trying to do the right thing.
Next up.
He does miss some chances, though, doesn't he?
He does miss some chances, but at the same time, he creates and does a lot.
On this next one, sorry to cut in,
this guy.
I think this is one of your biggest misses. If you watch when a team's in a death spiral, if they can get out of it, it's often a young player.
Oh, interesting.
Giving
okay.
the new Emil Smith Rowe, from my perspective.
That
sure
works.
But he's not been given a chance, has he, Rio?
That's what I mean.
No.
That's what I'm saying. So I think if you give him a bit of a chance, I think he could change the energy.
He has
I
scored,
agree.
hasn't he? He's come off the bench to score a winning goal for you this season.
I think the problem is at the moment the balance in the Liverpool squad, front to back, and also in the dressing room, isn't quite there. And I think that's a fair judgment. To put then that pressure on him and say, go and perform
But young
when
players
the
love
big
that.
guys aren't performing.
No,
I think
young players love that. They, especially players like him, they will thrive off that.
and I can see him thriving. When he comes on, he's actually great. He made a sub-performance the other day where he was fantastic. Scored against Newcastle. That goal alone he deserves to go in there.
Yeah.
I'm going to put him up top.
Yeah.
Put him up
Yeah,
there.
I have no problem with
Right. Cult hero, it's fair to say.
Yeah.
Guy who comes on every time, he looks absolutely fantastic. He cannot start games because
He
his
has
legs
to
are
be
not
a
there
hit.
to start games, but he has to
Whenever
be
he
in
plays,
hits.
he scores.
Yeah.
And
Whenever he plays, he does
Majority.
something effective, and I think that he's leading in that sense. By the way, his patience with Arne Slot and that backroom staff have been incredible because they've been patient.
That
with him.
leaves the big three.
Some of the big three. Mo Salah, his decline is not to do with his legs going or any of these other stupid reasons. It's to do with the fact that at the moment there isn't a balance in the side to support Mo Salah, and I think Mo's in a bit of a halfway house. I want to see Liverpool either commit to playing with a formation that suits him or not, and at the moment we're not doing that. I will always stand up for Mo Salah. I think he's a club legend, but I think this season his performances have been subpar in terms of output. For that reason, he has to go and miss. Having said that, because we're a poor side right now, he is actually hit, but he's going to have to go down here because of what he's
Alex,
done.
your thoughts on Mo Salah this
It
season?
feels disrespectful to me.
To be devil's advocate.
Yeah.
If his legs haven't gone, because I was looking at the numbers before, because I was like, have his legs gone? He's losing something like 10 to 15% more duels than last season. You've taken the most shots in the league and had the least on target. The most shots, the least percentage on target. How else do you explain that?
So you explain that by the fact that I don't think...
I'm not saying that is the answer. But
No, I get what you're saying, but I think the balance in the front line currently isn't there. You don't have the space from where he wants operated in, and I also don't think you have people kind of giving him the option to make the space. He's played alongside Bobby Firmino, Mane, even Darwin Nunez made more space for him than these other players at the moment, and that gave Mo the space to operate. He's not currently got that, because where is the space coming from when you play either of these guys? He's barely played, and that's okay. We're all very aware of how I feel about Isak and the time we need to give him and what experience he's had over the summer. And this guy's actually been really good, but he's kind of done it in adverse situations and circumstances. I would put him in a hit, but he's not been much further ahead of many other people.
Ekitike's got to be in a hit.
He
Sure.
does,
How
but-
quickly he's adapted, new league coming into the team.
He had a good spurt when he first came in, but that's very quickly dropped off. Again, he's very young, so to class them as good or bad feels a little bit unfair on someone like him.
Yeah.
I would say when you see
the position, he shouldn't be in
right,
this position.
and that's kind of my point: is don't put a young guy like this in that kind of position. Having said that, I think he's still been a hit because of the way he's carried that front line.
So Matisse, do you think it was a mistake this summer to sign both of these players?
In the way that they're currently playing this system, you can't fit them both in. But I don't believe they should be playing this system.
Agreed.
And that's the thing. I think you can get both of them in the team because I think Ekitike has shown that he can operate in deeper positions and pockets alongside of Wirtz and with Isak in front. I actually think they're too disjointed. I think if everyone was closer together and there was that width coming from a Frimpong Kerkez.
But where does that leave Salah?
It doesn't. That's the thing. Salah has to come out of this team for these two to have any chance of playing well together because you cannot play all three of them. But I do agree. I think Ekitike has dropped off, and I think it's kind of underspoken about because of that start he had. But I think he's actually... Isak's definitely a miss. Just
But the
purely
way
because he's...
Ekitike plays, when you actually when you're watching the games, the way he flows on the ball, the way he moves, like for me, just as like a neutral, he feels like one of the only standouts for Liverpool. This
But
season.
he is. But the problem is, if he's then got no options after he's got that flow and people can just double up on him, then what's the point in having that flow in the first place? That's part of the issue for Liverpool right now. Our shape is all off.
Alex, where would you fit? Would you fit both of them in? Would you take Salah out? Would you play Salah? Would you play both of them? How would you solve this issue for Liverpool?
3-5-2.
3-5-2?
Yeah.
It's what we've been advocating for ages. And when we first said it, everyone said, well, that means no Salah. That's part of the problem for Liverpool. We have to
They've
accept
got
that
three
this
centre
team's...
backs though, really.
That's the problem as
I'd
well.
play
So
Gravenberch.
get Mark Gay, I would...
Centre half.
Or as in he'd move in.
I agree. I think that's the real issue for Liverpool at the moment. We've not been able to fully commit to where we need to go. And I know it sounds a crazy thing to say, but these two will come good when we change the shape. AFCON is a little while away. My worry is we thought we could maybe, it's not limping, but we thought we could get to AFCON and it would be all right. We're not going to get there at this point if we don't make a shift. And I think Liverpool need to commit. That's what is the sad situation at
They're
Liverpool.
both really good footballers. I don't think anyone's just done a 180 and said, okay, now these are not good footballers anymore.
And that's the point that I make here. Do you see anyone in there that couldn't be used as a great tool to get out of this situation when put in the right shape?
No.
The answer is no.
Okay.
But
the shape.
look at that
So
split.
that means the manager.
An 11-10 split.
Yeah.
There you go. That is confirmation of Loz's hit and miss so far this season as assessing the Liverpool squad. Very tight.
Really.
Very tight indeed.